Well, the good news for England is that Harry Kane has been past fit for the internationals, just like he was at the Euros.
Yeah,
everybody.
I love but there's nothing that makes me more excited than a borderline fit Harry Kane. Oh, yes, please.
Oh, dear.
Another ladle of that, please.
You know what?
Can I just say, not pass fit by Bayern Munich?
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Different standards.
Did anybody hear Ollie Watkins just go, oh, not this again?
Is scoring for Bayern Munich going to add to your caps or your goals so you can hand out your little records to your friends?
Yeah,
no.
Don't worry, Harry, you're way in front. There are no pretenders, not even pretenders to your throne as England top scorer.
He's literally been taken off through injury twice this season already in the Bundesliga,
and clearly wasn't fit for the Euros in a full game capacity.
Yeah, if you're Bayern, I mean, you kind of accept him for what he is. But
Top scorer last season, Andy.
Yeah, but I think in terms of what he is as a personality and what motivates him, because you would be very much hoping that he would take the opportunity to pull out of this international window.
Yeah,
but it's Kane, it's England, it's never happening. You know, if he can limp onto the plane, he's coming, isn't
Yeah.
Which is odd, isn't
Lads
it?
with his knobbly sticks.
Yeah, but you would think if you're Harry Kane, right? He's got 68 goals for England in 100 internationals. A phenomenal record, right? He's way in front of everybody else. Way in front. It's a record that might never be broken.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's your record, okay? You've yet to win a trophy.
Yeah.
At Bayern, you've got a great chance.
Yeah.
They need you fit. Harry, it's just concentrate on that for a bit, okay?
You know
Don't worry, you'll be there when the World Cup comes around.
What it's a little
He's
bit
31,
like,
not getting any younger.
Do you remember, Pete, in Sir Bobby Robson's first home game in charge of Newcastle when they beat Sheffield Wednesday 8-0? And Alan Shearer had scored 4, and they had a young striker called Paul Robinson.
Ooh.
They got a penalty.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes up to him and goes, "Oh, hello, Alan, can I take that penalty?" And he's like, "No."
You loser.
I'm having a fifth here.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, look, Kane is in there, so, it's good news. There was no call-up for Andy Carroll. We were the only people on planet Earth, I think, that mentioned it would be quite funny. But there we are. Let's move on from that. But Jude Bellingham and Kyle Walker have returned to the squad because they missed out on Carsley's first squad for, fitness reasons for Bellingham, certainly. With Kyle Walker,
General conditioning.
Exactly, yeah.
needs a few welds on the sill.
Let him have a breather. He's been running a lot.
For some reason in my mind, I thought Kyle Walker talked about retiring.
Well, Kieran Trippier retired from international football. And I think
and they're friends.
They are friends. But I think some people thought maybe Walker might do that.
He might get involved, yeah.
But I mean, it's a tricky one. If you're Kyle Walker, you've got a lot left in the tank. I mean, still incredible pace. Let's not use Adama Traore as your average, pace merchant in the Premier League. So Walker's still got quality. With Carsley, playing Alexander-Arnold, of course, people think that he might opt for the more kind of attacking option, if you will. But with Walker, still got a role to play if he's fully fit, because, Reece James is just can't seem to shake off his injuries. And you've come so close to winning something with England. Do you just stay that one more tournament, for the World Cup? I think that's a temptation. Kieran Trippier, I think, for obvious reasons, thought, I think I'm done, because he's clearly sort of tailed off a little bit. He's been a fine player for England over the years.
No, but he's struggled at club level for a while.
But he has.
Yeah.
So a bit different there. So Walker's back in. Perhaps the most notable person who was called up was Dominic Solanke, because he has been left out of England squads for so long. Understandably, I think there was a little bit of clamour for him to go to the Euros, but I don't think too many people had a problem with that. But he's only got one cap for England, which I witnessed when they played Brazil in a friendly
7 years ago.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I think people thought that he might sort of kick on. It's taken him a while to do that, but he's got a big move to Spurs, a good season at Bournemouth as well, and he's in there, Andy.
He's really destined for the Robbie Keane path of lots of goals and a very poor celebration that he repeats many times. I think.
Do you think he could become his country's top goal scorer, though?
Yeah, obviously.
Okay. Oh, not that part of the pathway.
Yeah, maybe not that part of it.
I wondered where you were going with that.
The club element of it. I think the composition of this squad is really interesting, Mark. I'd be interested to hear your view on it, because to me, you look at the defenders and midfielders, and everyone there is going to play over the next couple of games.
Yeah.
I don't feel the same about the forward players. It feels a little bit puffy in the forward department.
Right.
When you say puffy, do you mean
swollen?
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Injuries. Oh, okay. Yeah. There are some notable omissions. Eberechi Eze. and Jared Bowen from the squad.
Eze has been particularly possession averse this season, hasn't he? He's lost the ball quite a lot.
Carsley sort of mentioned a couple of things about him and one or two of the...
There's more kind of assured creative players, I think, in that position or in that area. I'd say.
So going forward, in terms of on the pitch, England are obviously going to start with Harry Kane up top. Ollie Watkins is second choice, and now Dominic Solanke would appear as third choice since Tony's gone to Saudi Arabia. The positions either side of Kane, because it will be in basic form a 4-3-3. Mm-hmm. Bukayo Saka has got that right side nailed down for my money, because he's been such a good player for England over the years.
Unquestionably.
Right. The left side is a little bit more up for grabs. Anthony Gordon is one whose name is in the hat. Jack Grealish is back in the squad. In fact, gave quite an honest and frank interview about how he felt he should have gone to the Euros. You could say, well, of course he's going to say that.
I don't actually disagree with him.
But I don't disagree with him either. And I think that, you could see he was really hurt by it. And actually, he was a little bit more open and honest than maybe your average would have been. But anyway, that's
one of his most endearing features.
Totally. So he would be in competition, I would say, for that left side. I know he played centrally for Carsley already for England. I would say that's probably due to maybe lack of personnel and whatnot, and he did okay in there, but really that left side is where he would be. Noni Madueke is another one in there, probably,
Saka Locum,
exactly. But there are other players, of course, most notably Cole Palmer and Phil Foden. And the chat at the moment, understandably, is Cole Palmer has to play now for England.
Well, he has to. And also, I think you look at the fact that Foden started his first game of the Premier League season at the weekend.
Yeah.
I think...
But you're looking at the bigger picture for England, Andy. So you're right in terms of these games. But Cole Palmer, now, people say, is he the best player in the Premier League? The way he played... And even in the Euros, actually, when he came on for England... people were excited and England seemed to play. But obviously scored in the final, for crying out loud. Got his goal there. He's a penalty taker as well. He's a very confident lad. He's going to play in people want him to play in that central kind of attacking midfielder place. Let's call it a number 10. That would mean that Jude Bellingham needs to adjust, which he's kind of already doing at Real Madrid and has played in other kind of...
Are we saying Kylian Mbappé is doing Cole Palmer a massive favour?
Could be. But Jude Bellingham is versatile in that midfield, has played in a different midfield role for England, as well as Dortmund and so on. You'll have Declan Rice in there somewhere. You're just trying to build the starting side. So if you have Cole Palmer starting, as so many people want, and to think of Saka not starting, I think, is pretty criminal, because he's obviously a fantastic player and has been great for England. Where does that leave Phil Foden? Now, you can't pick everybody.
No, that's true. And, you can't pick everyone for every game.
You can't start everybody.
But I think the way that football is, particularly at the moment, particularly with a lot of discussions the players are having, that's only a positive thing, because you cannot anymore be going into the back end of a Euros or a World Cup after these really long seasons going, right, this is my 11 and I'm sticking to it. You can't be doing that. And people still have that in their heads because, of course, it's almost part of, like sort of the most understood key rules of football, that you don't change a winning team. Whereas now, I think you have to change a winning team. I think that's the reality of it.
But this team hasn't won the trophy, and that's the thing.
No, sure, but we're talking about winning an individual match,
right,
and going on to the next match. Okay. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about a team that has won a World Cup. We're talking about a winning team on a weekly basis or a game-by-game basis. But I think as well, this is only a positive thing, because, as you say, Saka has earned himself the right over a period of time to be a star all the time. Except, should he be? Like, Saka cannot carry on forever playing the amount of football he's playing at the moment. He cannot. And so to have Palmer not just in the 10, but in that slot, to involve Madueke and see if he can be important for England. The whole point is, and I know we've talked a lot, Marcus, about like how much we love the Nations League, and we do, but I think we have to accept it for what it is, which, especially for a team like England, and especially for a team like England in the Nations League situation that there are at the moment, if Carsley is not experimenting in this break, he's being negligent.
Yes. Which is it's kind of helpful for him that England actually got relegated into that Group B in the Nations League. It is, because you're playing against teams which you can experiment. Whereas if England were in there with, I don't know, Germany and Italy and whoever else,
even if that was the case, you should still
but there's
experimenting in this.
Fine, but England are not going to be relegated from Group B, and so he's got more of a chance to do that. But Pete, on the point of whether Cole Palmer should start here and there, where would you like to see him lining up for England?
Well, I think
off the right or in the centre.
I think one of those situations where you want him to be involved in as much as football as possible, so you would put him in the centre. But is that necessarily his best position? Because he's one of those players who can adapt quite nicely. He's not like a Phil Foden who will just have a shot every 5 minutes. He's just the most productive England forward facing player that we've got at the moment, and like Andy says, you've got to have him in there because he's there on form, and also they need to sort of piss about a bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand the chat about experimenting, but again, if you put Palmer in that midfield, Bellingham and Rice are the other two names, really.
Yeah,
and you think, well, that's the midfield three then. If you're going for Palmer in the centre, that is it. That's pretty strong. But so experimenting, yeah, absolutely. But you also want to make sure that those kind of players are a little bit more familiar with each other playing, because you've got very little time at international football. However,
Carsley's got very little time in international
football. Well, yeah, indeed. He's still got that interim tag as well. So you do look for any kind of green shoots at international level because you've got such little time. So
all we've got is green shoots, though, isn't it? You know what I mean? We're a green shoot team.
Do you think? Yeah. So
we'll get to finals.
One thing though that Palmer is very similar to Phil Foden is his love for fishing, it would appear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Burberry shared a 9-minute YouTube video of Cole Palmer fishing.
You know, like when you see footballers being interviewed, you can tell that they are itching to get back on their phones. Cole Palmer looks completely at ease with just sitting and staring at nowhere.
Yep, loves it.
And that's
like he was doing at that ruckus at the end of Chelsea, Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, just having to sit down.
He was thinking,
good opportunity.
What am I going to catch on the week during the week? I love that. I feel
is he actually a fisher person?
Or
is he?
You would say man,
a fisherman.
I assume so. I mean, a 9-minute video tells it all. That's long form.
Sitting in a chair. I could look like I'm fishing, sitting in a chair.
I haven't watched all 9 minutes, but he didn't look like he got up at any point for me.
No, minute 7 he stood when I hate this, and then sat back down.
Can I have my money now?
I've actually never eaten a fish, he says. To be fair, those two players do look like they've caught more fish than they've eaten. Yeah. Is that what I mean?
I know what you mean. Phil Foden is genuinely really into fishing, though.
Yeah.
So don't question
have a
him.
go at Foden.
Yeah, okay.
Couldn't say his name last week. That made its way on the WhatsApp, I noticed.
Yeah.
I was disgusted on my train this morning. I sometimes miss what's on the WhatsApp, and I go, whoa! Whoa, a 5-minute video of me mispronouncing Phil Foden's name. Disgusting.
My goodness. Well, on the game tonight, both sides are on 6 points after winning their opening 2 matches, so it's a big one. It is a big one.
It is a big one.
Cannot take your eyes off it for crying out ruddy loud. It's the first time they played since that 4-0 friendly win that Steve McLaren registered when in charge for England in 2006. As you know, I like to do a bit of a potted history of these things.
Of a Greece-England rivalry.
Indeed, yeah. So, after all said and done, who behind or Harry Kane? Who's your three in there, Andy, that you would like to see for this Greece game? And you can talk about experiments, or you can talk about I want something that I really want to get excited about.
Straight away for the Greece game, I think you've got to go for it and have Saka, Palmer, Gordon, because we've talked a lot about Palmer, and fair enough.
Yeah.
But if you're leaving out Eberechi Eze, and for a reason, as Lee Carsley has detailed, which is fine.
Well, he said I wanted to make wanted to make sure the squad feels fresh.
Yeah,
is what he was saying, that it's not a copy and paste job, and that when you get that email or WhatsApp, I love that you get a WhatsApp for the England team.
Mr. Phil Ford.
He wanted to make sure it's an achievement because it shouldn't be something that is taken for granted.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think if you're trying to create that sense of competition. What more could Gordon have done to get himself
score that penalty against Pickford, Andy?
Yeah. What more could he realistically have done? I think you look at the way he's played this season, the way he's dealt with a couple of different roles at Newcastle, because of course they've brought Harvey Barnes into the team a little bit more, so you've seen that versatility. But they were crying out for him at various points during the Euros, and he's only he's only got better since, I think.
Yeah, as the last couple of weeks, he's been criticised for his goal scoring because obviously they've been without Isaacs. Is this a good time for him to be playing in the team that he should have been playing so well for in the summer? Because he looks very busy, but I think sometimes his final ball lets him down and has done this season.
Yeah, I do think though that he makes stuff happen. Like if you want to criticise the numbers, fair enough. I get that. But having said that, I think in terms of someone who could scratch an itch that England need to scratch, I think is a huge part of it. Like I said,
also he's a runner for Kane.
Yes,
we know that Kane. It was very fruitful when Sterling played as well. For England, and so on, and that's what he does for Bayern. Whereas if you have, well, as they did in the Euros, Foden one side and Saka the other, and I don't think we're ever going to see Phil Foden play on the left again for England for understandable reasons.
They're the cut-in boys, aren't they?
Yeah, I know Saka could make those runs, but it doesn't really sort of come naturally, whereas Gordon that does, and I think Kane feeding Gordon, or even the other way round eventually, when Kane catches up with him, I think that could be quite fruitful, really.
Yeah, it's funny actually. Foden has looked good on the left when he's had Erling Haaland in the centre.
Yes,
but of course Kane is a very different type of striker, so maybe it's not quite the same thing. Look, like I said before, I would have taken Grealish to the Euros. I think he could have been useful at various points, but given that they didn't, not giving Gordon more minutes didn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And so they've got to give him the opportunity to say, what can you do for England? Okay. This is the point to do that, I think.
And Peter, who would you fancy behind that front four? Would you like Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, or do you want to give our little angel another go?
Little Angel Gomez. He did have an incredible...
enjoyed that.
I did enjoy that, and I'm sort of thinking, God, that feels like last week, but it was probably about 2 months ago, wasn't it? Yeah. He was great, and like I said at the time, there's no other England player who gives us what he gives us. Whether he can do that across a 10-year, 15-year England career is another question. But I really enjoyed his full... It was his full debut? His full debut.
Yeah, he's only had a couple of England caps, yeah. So I think it's interesting.
He can do everything.
Well, I mean, because if he plays...
He's giving back the marbles. What's he doing?
I think if he... that'd be something before kick-off, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
A load of people lugging on the Elgin marbles. There you go. You can have it on loan.
Do it.
I mean, it'd be interesting what cards he goes for, because, again, do you play Declan Rice like he does for Arsenal more, or do you play him in that role and then say, right, Jude, you need to get stuck in there. You can't be gallivanting ahead so much. But we shall see, everybody. All right, coming up after this, Ibrahima Konate touts himself as the new France captain.
Marhaba, Ana Steven Gerrard. Ana El Etifaki. See you soon.
In case you didn't understand that was Steven Gerrard. Right, tonight, elsewhere in the Nations League, in England's group, Finland host Ireland. Both sides are currently winless in the competition. Ireland will be hoping to register something here, especially as their striker Troy Parrott recently scored 4 in a game for Dutch side AZ Alkmaar. How about that? Is he the great hope that they need, Andy Brassel?
Well, they've got to put some faith in some players somewhere, haven't they? So you think of Parrott, who's had a decent start to the season. This move to AZ is really big for him. Mm-hmm. You know, he needs to finally prove himself in a top flight European league. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how he gets on from there. I guess the other question at the other end is really about Jake O'Brien, who had a promising season last season at Lyon, even though clearly he's a work in progress. Mm-hmm. And that has become perhaps more clear while he's been at Everton, certainly to Everton fans over the last couple of weeks. But there's been quite a significant clamour in Ireland for him to get involved and be part of the team. So, you know, we've talked about England needing to use this as an opportunity to build. I mean, that goes double for Ireland, really, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, a lot of people on our Discord have been saying that Troy Parrott plays very well on the shoulder of the last defender. And
weak.
I enjoyed it.
Weak Discorders.
I enjoyed it.
What's that? Well, I think that given that he is scoring a few goals and he's obviously an attacking threat, I'd like to see him play. I mean, I know obviously Evan Ferguson is a player with a huge amount of potential, and they're very excited.
Who's been out of form for quite a long time.
But there is that as well. So I'd like to see Parrott given a go. So, I mean, of course, he was given his professional debut at just 17 at Spurs, and he recently spoke about how he struggled with the expectations that were placed on him following that. But I think now you've got a more rounded striker and a player who has benefited with a move abroad. Sometimes players move abroad and you don't hear too much of them again. But perhaps there's maybe more English players, because English players that move abroad, unless they're huge like Bellingham, that tends to be them in terms of call-ups and so on, rightly or wrongly. Although Angel Gomez has bucked the trend there.
Yeah, I think that's gradually changing.
Yes, I think it is.
I mean, I guess if you're a centre forward, going and joining an Eredivisie club can be like, being an adult in a soft play and getting thrown into a massive ball pool and thinking, this is amazing. It turns out I am fun and exciting.
And I can bully everyone in here. Oh, sorry, is that not what you were going with that?
Your children are teenagers. You shouldn't be in there.
Yeah, you're such an embarrassment to them, Andy. You really are. But
do you reckon that's what his family is saying to him?
Maybe. Come on, you've got
filling your beats in the Eredivisie. Come on, you're better than this.
Well, assistant Ireland head coach John
Careful,
O'Shea.
Man United will sign you.
Yeah. Speaking of Man United, assistant Ireland head coach John O'Shea said the narrative around the Republic of Ireland is too derogatory.
And what a piss take. Honestly, who does he think he is saying that? Ireland fans have been patient enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I did find that quite interesting because it has been really bad for the Irish for a while now in international football.
Yeah.
And again, with what happened with Kenny, we spoke about, so it does feel like, well, what do they go for now? And they've gone for an experienced manager who plays a certain type of football, which you just think, okay, back to basics, really.
Yes.
And I don't think that was I think that was probably a good move for them.
Yeah, I mean, in isolation, I don't think appointing Hal Grimson is a bad thing. I think what is the concern is the fact that they, had a load of different ideas, and they weren't necessarily going for one particular sort of coach, and the feeling from a lot of Irish fans that the Kenny reign was allowed to drift and carry on a little bit longer than it should.
Yes.
And the fact that Lee Carsley was there all this bloody time.
Well, I mean, they tried to get Carsley, but I think Carsley was...
No, but they left it too late. That's the point.
But they left it too late. I didn't think... Yeah, well, yes.
And, maybe they'd be looking at something that excited the supporters a little bit more.
Maybe it is too derogatory.
Give it a Roy Keane, for crying out loud. At least it'll be entertaining.
Give us some
for
razzle
us.
dazzle.
Yeah.
For us, not for them.
No.
Yeah. Again, what's good for the Ramble, Andy?
Yeah, there we go.
Well, they've got to avoid relegation from Group B. Don't go down to Group C.
No. There be dragons.
There be dragons down there. Elsewhere in the Nations League tonight, France are in action, of course, up in Group A. They play against Israel. Now, I am intrigued by Ibrahima Konate at the moment, Andy. Not only did he arrive at the French camp wearing a rather interesting outfit, he's been talking very, very big, but we can't move on from the outfit. Quite frankly, he's made a real stir in the French camp for my liking and a lot of other people's. He was wearing a suit with what looked like a green morph suit underneath. Pete, I'd refer to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm the only person in the room who has one of those hoodies that goes over your head, basically. But mine was like basically a skeleton sort of mask you could put on. Mm-hmm. But it's basically a green hoodie with sort of long drawstrings underneath a rather tidy sort of mad pinstripe double-breasted suit with some real chunky boots.
A bit like the Mask has had his face rubbed off.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Mask has had his face rubbed off, but needs to appear in court as well.
It looks like he's doing his own CGI. He's doing his own CGI on the Avengers or something.
It's quite incredible.
It's strong stuff.
And to be the most outstanding of all the players that arrived at the French camp in terms of fashion was quite an achievement as well.
It was very much like an NBA game arrival, wasn't it?
It was.
Yes. In terms of the whole sort of runway fits kind of business.
Footballers are kind of underrated, I think, or maybe they're quite rated in terms of their attire, because you would think that if you saw a lot of footballers wearing what they do, that they were pop stars.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like they really kind of go for it, don't they?
And then you see Fabian Schär and Jorts getting signed. So
Is he really?
I said it on Friday's show.
It's a far cry from the Manchester United team on their night out in what would have been early mid-noughties, where they're all wearing
boot cuts,
boot cut jeans, and jumpers over.
They drag
shirts.
you down. The Brits, they drag you down clothing-wise. Luke Moore drags me down clothing-wise, and he's the ultimate little Englander in this situation. I try to astound, I try to delight, and yet people pull me down like a I don't know.
You see,
I think there's fear there.
I
was about to defend Luke, and then I thought, some of the things he says about me when I'm not on the pod. Yeah, tell us more, Peter.
what you are, Pete, is you're like the Marcus Thuram of the group, because he came in with this Louis Vuitton leather jacket, which was it was very much, it looked like a racing jacket, and obviously he has to put up with coming in the front and Didier Deschamps going, "Oh, off to Monza, are we?" And Thuram didn't get it at all, and he went, "Actually, we played at home this weekend, Gaffer. We weren't away." It was absolutely lovely nails down a blackboard.
Lovely,
excruciating.
Yeah, and that's what I think is important to remember. The young men of football, you feel like they're the victims of stylists. Do you know what I mean? Rather than they're an active agent. And there are very few footballers where you sort of go, he's chosen that because he knows he knows why he's wearing culottes. He looks good in them, and he has the kind of like emotional heft to carry this off.
Yes.
But sometimes I think footballers' clothing, young men clothing, can be wearing them more than them wearing it.
I know, because
they do like the baggy stuff.
Yeah, having said that, Jules Koundé is very much the French Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Right.
You know, he's definitely his own creative director, takes a few risks. Yeah. Interestingly, with the captaincy, it was either going to be Konate or Aurélien Tchouameni. It's been announced this yesterday morning that it's Aurélien Tchouameni, possibly because he just turned up in a very vanilla tracksuit. I mean, the most helpful thing about all this discussion in fits over in France, at least, has been the fact that it's really underlined who the real dickheads in the media are, because there's been a very lot of men of a certain age going, "They're playing for France, oh my God, what are they doing? Just turn up with a short back and sides and, just a jumper or
Did
whatever."
Any of them go, I wish they would wear tighter clothing? What?
But then they complain when they come with like carrier bags and stuff, don't
Peter, that footballers can't win in this situation.
They cannot win.
I mean, England players, when they turn up, and I love watching those videos of them arrive at St George's training ground. Yeah. They've all got the England tracksuits on.
Right. Okay.
And I think that's it. Basically, school uniform.
I see.
You've got to go. Yeah. There's a place for the school uniform.
Yeah, that's fine. I suppose the Harry Maguire end of the market, you don't want to look like you've been recently fired for insider trading.
Right.
That's the point, isn't it?
Is that why he was admitted from Carsley's recent squad?
Possibly.
Yeah, maybe.
I in my private life do wear a T-shirt with Marcus' face on it for reasons I won't go into.
Your partner requested it.
But I was just hanging out with the baby, and the baby pointed at your face and said, "Mama." So what's going on there, Marcus?
I am
Mother Earth.
I happen to be Big Mama UEFA.
Big Mama UEFA. What a shame.
Oh, dearie me. Well, Andy, you mentioned that Konate is not the captain of France. It's been given to Tchouameni. Well, he was coming out with some stuff. So France are without Kylian Mbappé for this game. He's been excused from the squad to give himself some physical and mental rest. Take note, Harry Kane, and of course Antoine Griezmann retired from international football. So again, the vice captain is not there. So Konate saw his chance. Bearing in mind, he didn't even
said that in a very Jim Carrey way. There's a chance.
Bearing in mind, he didn't play a minute at the Euros in Germany. You wouldn't have thought that he would, and some people thought he should have done, of course, but you wouldn't have thought he would.
It's a weird transformation into...
Yeah, suddenly you'll be the captain. and obviously Deschamps hasn't done that. But Konate himself said this: being a leader is something that is innate. You either have it or you don't. You have to be someone that everyone likes. A leader has to be there. Indeed. A leader has to be there, especially when things aren't going well. It's like the foundations of a house. He holds up the group so that everything can go well. Some players have the profile. I have a few names. Mike Maignan, Jules Koundé, myself, and Aurélien Tchouameni. Those are the only names that come to mind. Now, for a guy, again, who didn't play a minute at the Euros, to be basically saying, well, there's only a few of us, the rest of them, I mean, they got no chance, but I will put myself in that specific group of players. It's quite ballsy.
But
Yeah.
the whole rant was weird.
Well, it was. How has this gone down?
Where he started talking about, I can't believe Griezmann isn't here, and he started drifting off into the ether and saying, he must have been really gutted when he wasn't made captain. And it's like, I think everyone knows that. You don't need to bring it up again. He's not even here. It's not even an issue that anyone's going to have to deal with all over again. Don't just say what's in your brain.
I know. Has he got a reputation for this? Because I didn't know he had.
For saying what's in his brain. Well, he has now.
Well, he has now,
He's a brain
Andy.
sayer.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite something, isn't it? Saying, there's only a few of us. I mean, I'm one of them. You know.
He did sort of semi-correctly predict the captain in the end, so maybe we should be patting him on the back.
Yeah. I don't think that was his intention, Andy.
You don't pat him on the back; he pats you on the back.
Yeah,
that's how captains work.
Yeah, I mean, if he was giving this, if he was at the press conference saying all this, and someone whispered in his ear, they've given it to Tchouameni. See, I told you.
With a green clothed hand with no fingers, he'll be patting you on the back.
I knew it was going to be one of us leaders, born leaders. Deary me. Well, yes. Will we see him tonight in action? Who knows? Coming up after this, though, Andres Iniesta has hung up his boots. Before we get to Andres Iniesta, just want to mention that Belgium play Italy this evening. A big one, of course, but Belgium will be without Kevin De Bruyne, who has asked for time off the national team as he looks to manage his playing time. He also will miss the Nations League matches in November and was also filmed saying, "I quit," after Belgium lost to France last month.
He was so angry with his team after, so angry with his team after.
I mean, they were playing France. I mean, if you're playing... If they do that against Greece tonight or something, like England, but...
Would you have said that to him? Hey, it's France. What's the matter
it's
with
France.
you?
We're probably going to lose.
Yeah, I think De Bruyne clearly loves playing for Belgium, hence he actually hasn't quit. But after the nonsense...
it sounds like he has quit and they've talked him round to sort of go and just take the rest of the year off.
Well, maybe there's that as well. I mean...
2025 could be your year playing for Al Hilal.
But yeah, exactly, yeah. I think with De Bruyne, though, like being quite possibly the best player ever to come from his country, or certainly one of them, there's no doubt about that.
In the discussion, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. There is that kind of, I'm sure he would feel some sort of responsibility and national pride and all that stuff. But also as well, I've no doubt he bloody well loves playing for his country. Of course he does. But after the Euros,
He's never happy.
No, but to be
honest, I don't know what makes that man happy.
Isn't that just his demeanour?
Yeah,
but I think
I'd just like to sit him down and go, tell me 5 things you like. 5 things when you see it, you go, yes, get in there.
Well,
does he have a dog? Can he dance? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a point.
I need somebody to fill out this character because at the moment all he does is complain about playing, as discussed, playing Wales and not getting the ball when he needs the ball.
I feel like it's a little bit Roy Keane playing for Ireland in that he just demands more.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But he's not going to do a Roy Keane. Obviously, he's not that kind of character.
I don't understand that kind of behaviour.
Why are we going to Saipan for the Nations League training camp?
Yeah. Don't you think this is like an increasing thing in modern football? Like players are tired and irritable. So you could say that is Roy Keane in a Belgian context. You could also say the same about Ilkay Gundogan at Barcelona, who turns up there and goes, "Oh, this is really amateurish," and I want to go back to where it was.
And it could well be because at Manchester City, the infrastructure and the whole setup is obviously incredible.
Well, the City connection is definitely part of it.
So there's that. Yeah. He's been playing for Guardiola. He's been playing for the best team in the continent. Blah, blah, blah,
There's
blah.
probably an argument to say that Manchester City shouldn't be that good.
Well, Peter,
130 times over.
We'll leave that for the Premier League to battle out with. But with him at Belgium, he goes there and look, people know what to expect. He's been playing them for a while, but I think maybe when standards slip to a point where he feels like, no, we should be getting more out of this, whatever it may be. And then you have the fans turn on them. Like people talk about the few cups of beer that were thrown at Gareth Southgate, which obviously wasn't good during the Euros. Absolutely nothing, the reception compared to what Belgium, and they had a standoff essentially, the fans and the team. It was an extraordinary scene.
Yeah, well, I mean, the good thing from the players' perspective is far less fans turned up to their last couple of games to actually throw stuff at them.
Yeah.
So,
so there's obviously a bit of unhappiness there. They've had a great crop of players of late, but that generation, as we know, much talked about, is no longer there. De Bruyne is still carrying on, and maybe there's so much expectation, and people want more and more and more from him, and understandably he's exhausted physically, but also probably mentally, and needs a bit of time out. So we shall see. I mean, Belgian manager Domenico Tedesco said the schedule has become even busier due to the World Cup for clubs. That is why he is not here for now and in November. But when it really counts, the World Cup, he will be there.
It is interesting to think that this international break, both him and Kylian Mbappé, they have full physical integrity, two of the biggest players in the world, and they're going, I can't bring myself to do
not
this.
Not our Harry, though. Hey, not our Harry Kane, Andy.
I mean, he's the one who really should be, but he's not, ironically.
Well, I don't know. Somebody who won't be playing football at a professional level ever again is Anders Iniesta.
Oh.
That means we can all fulfil our dreams of having him on our five-a-side team. Has there ever been a player who you've more wanted in your five-a-side team?
Yeah, I completely agree, actually.
He's up there, isn't he? Lionel Messi. He's retired from football, aged 40. His list of career achievements is stunning, to say the least. But of course, he left Barcelona in 2018 and played for another 7 years. He played for Vissel Kobe in Japan from 2018 to 2023 before moving to play in the United Arab Emirates.
Yeah, I mean, he was on an astonishing. He was on 25 million euros a year there, which is still pretty chunky.
Is that a lovely old job, Peter?
compared to China, which he obviously could have gone to at that point in time. China was still kicking balls around 20.
Oh, they were offering ridiculous.
They were offering money. So I think it's and I think they invested in. I think it's all owned by Rakuten. Rakuten are a big kind of company that deal with
had involvement with Barcelona and the Golden State Warriors as well.
So they obviously had a connection there, and he had an opportunity to play, make mega bucks, and he made slightly less mega bucks. And I think they invested in his winery he's got, which is quite nice. But he stuck around, and I think he really enjoyed his time in Japan, and that's always something that makes me warm to a player.
Why have you not had him on the pod?
I know, yeah. Give him a ring. What do you realistically do as a Barcelona level footballer playing in J1? Yeah, just sit around in your paddock.
Yeah, well, you just hold on to the ball that little bit longer. Is anybody going to make a run?
Has Juan Mata kicked a ball yet? Has Juan Mata got in? He's played for Vissel Kobe.
I mean, Anderson.
He's just gone to Australia.
I just got to say, it's all right. Well, he hadn't then. Brilliant.
Iniesta's like a stunningly good player.
It's funny, in an era where we're so obsessed with statistics as an expression of how good players are, he's almost quite retro in that any statistic, any one of those career achievements that you could bring up, the statistics, a bit like Luka Modric, do not express what a profound impact he has had on the game.
It's weird,
and even if he'd have scored 45 goals a season, that couldn't express what he's given to the game.
Well, he is one of those players that there's a temptation, as we used to do years ago, to say, I think he's quite underrated. I don't think he's underrated. I think everybody knows he's an absolute legend of the game and so on.
Oh, he's the pros' favourite player.
Yeah.
A bit like Paul Scholes in his day, really.
In a bit, but he doesn't have maybe the highlight reel of Paul Scholes in terms of like the volleys and so on. Obviously, he scored a winning goal in the World Cup final, for crying out loud.
And he's in Future Islands.
Is he? But he's clearly not underrated. Do you know what I mean? Everyone knows what a legend of the game Iniesta is. And I think he was one of those players in this country where people really saw him in that Champions League final against Manchester United in Rome. I happened to be at the game. I was very fortunate to be there. And I think Xavi was given player of the match, but a lot of people thought it should have been Iniesta. But take your pick. And that is when, in this country, I stress, a lot of people, and I would include myself in this, suddenly were like, oh, that's how you play the game. That's what a midfielder can do and perhaps should do. The way, the touch, the dribbling, just all those kind of attributes. And one of those players who really helped make me think of the game differently, quite frankly. I know people might have a kind of revisionist view on that and go, oh, well, I always thought... No, in this country, it was a lot of people, I don't speak for everybody, it was a lot of people who we still thought about the game in very much straight lines and certain positions, and that's, all that kind of thing. But he was such a beautiful player to watch, the way he would glide around the pitch, and so integral to Guardiola's Barcelona, and then obviously other Barcelona sides beyond that, that there was... I know this is a silly thing to say, but there was almost such a purity about the way he played.
I think so, because I think being collectively integral, as you pointed out, but on your own terms, is something quite special. That's why you'd make the link with Modric, I suppose, because you'd think pre-Modric, players of that size did not play in central midfield in the Premier League.
Yeah,
and I guess it's the same thing with Iniesta. To find that balance between having, or like being one of the best dribblers you'll ever see, having the best first touch you'll ever see.
Weight of the pass as well.
Yes.
Threading those through balls.
But
in all weathers.
In all weathers.
Yes.
Mainly hot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But knowing how much and how little of that to do in that Barcelona team that was all about the collective was amazing. Yeah. And it is funny when you think of it's really about the aesthetics, isn't it? That's what it's all about. And so, as you say, scorer of winning goal in the World Cup final. And my favourite Iniesta moment is not actually the goal, but the bit where he removes his shirt. And it kind of underlines his selflessness, really. Because at a moment like that, he just wants to talk about his friend. Because it's for Danny Carrique, who passed away tragically, of course, just a few years before that. And so at that moment, even at that moment where he scored the winning goal in the World Cup final, it's not about him.
Yeah.
It's about the collective. And about the collective of footballers, actually, not just Barcelona. Yeah. I think that's really, really important. But at the same time, I think of all the people who've watched him and been touched by his football, very few people would say first, he's the guy who scored the winning goal in the World Cup final. That's not how you define him.
I mean, wonderful testimony from you in particular, Andy. But I think the last word should go to Sergei Nivloshki on the Google reviews for Iniesta's winery. 2 drops of wine and a piece of cheese per person. Rubbish. It's not recommended for wine lovers nor for soccer fans. Iniesta was a true musician with the ball, but his family winery is a big stain on his legacy. So, there we go.
So
maybe he should play for another couple of years.
I heard, and of course, Iniesta scored that goal to defeat Chelsea on away goals in that semi-final. And with that in mind, did Didier Drogba turn up to the wine and go, it's a disgrace! It's a disgrace!
It's a fucking piece of cheese and a drop of wine.
Thanks for watching a clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a video. And if you're feeling extra generous, why don't you like this video? Why don't you like this video?